All right. Uh, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Hawks Hoops Live. How y'all doing tonight? Weekly NBA show right here on the Hawks Hoops channel. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Not gonna take a lot of time ahead of you. We just gonna go ahead and hop right in. Let me do this right now. We're gonna open these phone lines early, like we say every week. You can always feel free to call in. Even if it's not exactly what we're talking about at the moment, you got a topic on your mind, you guys can help sway the conversation of tonight. Phone lines, like I said, are open, so whenever you want to call in, feel free to call in. I put it on my Instagram earlier today on my story. I already told y'all what we were opening up this topic with. Stephen A. Smith went on a rant, kind of went viral, talking about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. Basically, a reaction to last night's game against the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors looked wonderful against the Nets, like absolutely wonderful against the Nets. And Stephen A has some choice words to say about it. I'm not going to play the full clip. I'm see if I can pull it up quickly. I thought I had the clip ready, but essentially what he said was that Kevin Durant's going to regret signing to this team. That he already regrets signing this team. Excuse me, he regrets signing to the Clippers, the Nets, because he trusted Kyrie. He said it was a dumb idea to trust Kyrie. He never should have trusted Kyrie, which I thought were some really, really bold words. Like, but he's not completely wrong. I want to pull up at least a clip so you guys can see what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it already. Here we go. This is 3 minutes. We're not gonna watch this whole thing. I promise you we're not. But I just wanted to let's talk about this real quick. Just a piece. Let's talk about a piece of this real quick. See if I can pull this up. Wrong screen. Why is this doing this? We might not be. We might not. All right. We're not playing the clip because my streaming setup wants to be weird today. Oh, I know what I can do. Bop. Bada boom. Bop. Bada. There we go. All right. Let's listen to this real quick.
You have no help. And more importantly than anything else, you made the wrong decision by going to Brooklyn. And I'm not talking about this as a Knicks fan. I'm talking about this as New York, because I'm Knicks first, Swagoo, but New York always. Knicks first, New York always. I'm always rooting for New York, and I'll always root for Brooklyn, with the exception of when they go against the Knicks. Kevin Durant made the wrong decision by going to the New York Knicks, and he's going to rue the day that he did that.
Rue the day that he did that. Let me skip ahead real quick.
It is that simple. You got to get it together. James Harden, you are a superstar, and you are not looking like one. It is that simple. You got to get it together. KD, you made the wrong decision, bro. And here's why. Because you trusted Kyrie. Kyrie Irving betrayed you.
Let's just stop it right there. You know what I mean? Let's stop it right there. I thought that was a really bold claim. Like, that's some wild statement to say. To say Kyrie absolutely betrayed him is crazy to me. So let's take a look at what we got going on with this team. So Harden had a slow start. Still is going through a slow start, if you ask me. People are saying he's playing better. Looking at his last couple of games, I mean, technically, yes, he is playing better. But, I mean, it ain't crazy. Like, he dropped 24 against that Golden State game. He dropped 16 in a win against OKC. He dropped 39. He did have that 39 and 12 assist game. Everybody's like, oh, Harden's back. That was against the Pelicans. That's trash defense. Then he also had, where was that triple-double game he had? That 17-point triple-double against Orlando. That was a win. Also, terrible defense. 14 against Chicago. Shot 4 for 11. Against a good team, they lost. 28 against the Raptors, which team, I'm not saying the Raptors are a trash team, but that's a team that was struggling with some injuries. Siakam wasn't in it when they played them. 13 and a win against Detroit. Once again, trash team. 16 against Atlanta. I mean, the list goes on. We know James Harden is struggling. He's only averaging, I want to say, 18, 19 points a game right now. He doesn't look in shape at all. I think that's the biggest thing with James Harden. He couldn't have known about the situation before the pandemic and before he signed his extension. William, you make a good point. No, he couldn't have known about the situation before the pandemic and before he signed his extension. You are right. And I mean, we're gonna get into that because no, you are correct. He did not know about this. You couldn't have predicted this. You couldn't have predicted Kyrie not wanting to get his vaccination. You couldn't have predicted James Harden looking like the way he does. You are correct. There are certain things you could not have predicted. James Harden is still coming off that injury. We'll give him some benefit of the doubt. But let's continue. Harden's not playing well. We know Kyrie's doing whatever he's doing. Stephen A. in that clip, I didn't play it, but he went so far as to say that he hopes Kyrie gets cut. Like he wants him off this team. I don't see that happening. I don't even see the Nets really going for a trade for him, because like trading him to somebody else, because I don't know who's taking Kyrie. There was hopes that, not to get too deep into the weed of the politics, but there were hopes that the new mayor of New York would maybe overturn the rule. The new mayor of New York said, nah, we're not overturning this rule. We're keeping this rule. Get vaccinated. So until Kyrie gets vaccinated, he's not playing. All right. And then Stephen A. ends that by basically saying Kevin Durant has no help, saying he has no help at all. And there's a double-edged sword to that. Like on paper, you would say in the summertime, we were like, yo, this Nets team, they got who ain't signed there? Blake Griffin, the Anthony, LaMarcus Aldridge. When they traded for Harden, like this team was like, yo, who's not on this Nets team? This Nets team, on paper, healthy, everybody there should be one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. But that's just not the case right now. They're not looking like that. They're not at full capacity. And it's making it look like Kevin Durant has to go into God mode every night. And that's what we kind of saw against the Lakers, if you ask me. James had an all offseason to get right. He was he was traveling the world with a little baby when he should have been rehabilitating. Hey, Mario, appreciate you for tuning in. And you are correct, my boy. He had all season. He really did have all off season. And the biggest thing, before I move on, you mentioned him going around the world with a little baby. The funny part about that is he came into the season looking out of shape. When I was watching this Nets Warriors game, I was thinking to myself, is James Harden still fat? Like I was a little confused. Like he looked, not to call a grown man pudgy, but he looks pudgy still. Like he looks pudgy. And I'm trying to figure out why he's coming in this season like this. I feel like this is the second time he's done this. He did the same thing with the Rockets, but against the when he was on the Rockets, it made more sense because it was clear that he wanted out. It was kind of his way of showing he wanted out. But he clearly is struggling. Matthew, not him balling out. Yeah, ref's not bailing him out. He's struggling. We got our first caller. Let's see who it is. Thank you for calling the Hawks Hoops. You talking to Hawk? Who am I talking to?
What up, Hawk? This is Jason, man. How you doing, man?
What up, Jason? How you doing? Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
I don't like how you coming after my man James Harden, man. Remember, he did play in the Olympics, man. He was rehabbing that hamstring.
You're right.
So
he did play in the Olympics.
You got to rehab that hamstring, man.
Now, see, my question to you is, he shouldn't have played in the Olympics then. If the hamstring was still an issue, if you ask me, he should have just stayed home and kept rehabbing.
Facts. But I would say that he probably was working on his chemistry back with Kev, trying to see how they could come into this season. So it's, injuries are funny. It's just like, Clay. Clay's out, but Golden State could do that because they expected,
him to be out. Exactly.
All right. Yeah, they expected him to be out, and they expected like, hey, we got enough firepower that we don't need. We don't need to do what you call it. We don't need to have him around at this point in the season. So, James has to play his way in. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, right? Say James Harden gets back to playing like James Harden. How you feeling about them now? Still without Kyrie and with the other guys playing how they've been playing, Blake Griffin, Aldridge, Joe Harris, all them. How you feeling about them if James Harden looks like what we're used to out of James Harden?
I mean, it's still an 82-game season. I mean, we got to kind of figure out. I mean, I feel good about the Nets, but there's a lot of teams that look good. I mean, we can look at Chicago. They're playing at a high level now, but, we're only, what are we like? Are we even 20 games into the season?
No, we're not even 20 games. I think we're like 14, 15 games into the season, depending on how many
at
played.
At this point, when I look at, the Nets right now, to me, I think it's too early to really determine what they're going to look like. I want to see after the All-Star break, which is why LeBron is taking his breaks right now, right?
100%.
LeBron's taking his break because he wants to be ready to be in tune for the playoffs. So I guess, I don't know, we're jumping all over the place. Like Russell Westbrook, he looks crazy right now because like, oh, he's doing this, all these turnovers, blah 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 blah. You got to play a good season to get in tune. And what
Yes.
goes to show you that is like when Chris Bosh, Wade, and LeBron got together. The first
Yo,
year,
yo,
everybody's
yo,
like,
you in
"Oh,
my
they're gonna win the
notes?
champ."
You in my notes? That's crazy. Yo, that's the next thing on my notes. I got something to say about that.
Yeah.
You must be in my notes.
They're gonna win that chip or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
it takes chemistry. You gotta
Yes,
have
it
that
does.
chemistry going into year 2 to get that. So I'm really more concerned about the level of minutes that KD is playing because he's a hooper. So
Yes.
I really don't look at LeBron. I mean, I'm sorry, James, because you got to figure at some point who's gonna run that second unit. Because KD
Yep.
is doing too much minutes coming off of this Achilles injury. But if
Yep.
anybody could do it, his game is suited for that. So, and then we got to figure what kind of shape. I mean, we know Kai comes in, but he's also a person that gets nicked up a lot.
Yeah.
So, how is that going to happen? And with these older guys, like, are we going to get a full season out of Aldridge with his heart murmur? And what quality minutes is Blake going to give you? And I mean, Paul, it's an old team. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you know, can they beat more? I mean, like, you got to figure out what are they going up against in the East. Can they beat a Milwaukee? I believe they could.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's looking real good right now. Has DeMar DeRozan, given up his perspective from Toronto? Is he mentally ready to take a team to that next level?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? You know what I'm saying? If he sees LeBron in the championship, will he be DeMar DeRozan back in whatever? Miami is looking pretty good too. I mean,
Yep.
but once again, we 13 games in, man. The
It's
Nets
still
are
early.
primed where they are. Harden can play his way in. But we got to see how he, nagging injuries take longer. And I think the difference between this generation, they don't take enough time off. They're constantly playing through.
Yeah.
If you're playing
They're playing
long in the
summer.
playoffs. And
They're playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're doing it all. Yeah.
And then remember when he got injured coming into New York the last time,
Mm-hmm.
he was really a fat boy because he wanted to get out of Houston.
Facts.
So he had to
Yeah.
play his way into shape that got himself injured. And now, with COVID and all this stuff, seasons are condensed, things are longer. The NBA is having 4 games in 5 nights, which is why you got guys like LeBron taking off. And I personally think that's why Kyrie did it too. I don't think Kyrie wants to play a full season, and New York has played into his foolishness. So,
Really?
like now,
Okay.
he's coming back in January. Yeah, because he doesn't want to play. He wants to be able to take his time, and everybody wants to play meaningful games after All-Star game. Because now, okay, we got to gear up for the chip.
Games matter
So
now if they feel like
that's
okay.
my 2 cents.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in, Jason.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Appreciate that. Yeah, he brought up some really good points. And as I said earlier, when I said he's in my notes, this is why I said that, right? So he brought up a great point that it takes time to build chemistry. It takes time to create a system. And this Nets team, and as well as this Lakers team, didn't have any time for that, to be honest with you, just to be frank. You can say, yeah, but the Nets team, they were there last season, but they really weren't. I mean, Harden wasn't shell of himself. Kyrie was in and out. They weren't fully 100% there. And then same with the Lakers team. You could say this Lakers team, well, they won a chip in 2020. I mean, yeah, they won that chip, but this ain't even the same Lakers team that won that chip. This is a whole new Lakers team. And it shows. They don't have the chemistry. They don't look like they're always in sync. And you can see that when you compare them to teams, and I'm not trying to gas these other teams, but you compare them to teams like the Warriors, you compare them to the Bucks, like that upper echelon championship caliber team, because that's where the Nets and the Lakers aspire to be. What you see there is a system in place. Like, although the Warriors, to some people, if you ain't know, it might feel like they came out of nowhere. But if you've been watching the Warriors, this Warriors team looked just like the same Warriors team that happened in 2015. They got a lot of the same players that they had in 2015. They got a couple of new pieces, but even players like Wiggins and Poole, they weren't there for those teams, but this is now their 3rd year on this Warriors team. So they know the system. They're acclimated. They're involved. Draymond's back. Iggy's back. So teams that have a culture, teams that have a system in place, teams that have good coaching, we could talk about that in a little bit. They are teams who you can notice, you can see it. But teams that are, I guess you can call them these super teams, and we can, well, specifically my example I was going to use was that 2012 Heat team with Bron, Wade, Bosh. that summer, everybody's like, oh, snap, this team's going to be amazing. This team's going to be amazing. And they were a really good regular season team. They were a good playoff team that they walked through the East. But then they got to the playoffs and they lost to Dirk and Whiskey. You know what I mean? And Dirk, shout out to Dirk. He had an amazing, amazing finals that year. But, and you saw that then. They didn't have the chemistry. That Heat team didn't have the chemistry. They went on and built that chemistry and won 2 more chips. And I think, unfortunately, that's what's going to take for the Nets and even the Lakers. I don't know what those teams are going to look like this season. We already said James Harden's trying to play his way back into shape. You can't, to me, and this is just me, you can't come into the season trying to play your way into shape. Like, some players can do it. We heard Shaq say he did it all the time, but Shaq will even tell you, if I was in shape, we'd probably be the one a lot more championships. Me and Kobe would have got along better. We would have won more championships. So yeah, the Lakers, they three-peated, but Shaq will even tell you, we could have did more if I came ready. And that's one of the greatest players of all time, the most dominant player in our league's ever seen. And he's even telling you, I should have came in ready to play, should have came in shape, shouldn't have tried to play my way into shape. And I think that's what Harden's doing. He's trying to play his way into shape, and I don't see it working out. I don't want to harp on them for too long. We're going to move on to the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis. I made a TikTok about him yesterday, 2 days ago, and I just want to give him a shout out. Like, Kristaps Porzingis has always been one of the players I kind of like. He's a big who, about 5 years ago, he's one of them first bigs who can really shoot, put the ball on the ground a little bit. But the thing that I think made him the unicorn to me personally was his defense. Because we've had bigs who can shoot a little bit. Dirk, great shooter. Chris Bosh, good shooter. We've seen shooting big men. And we've even seen big men who can dribble a little bit. We can take it back to Charles Barkley. He could pull up a whole 20-minute highlight clip of Charles Barkley running the fast break with the ball in his hands. But what made Kristaps the unicorn to me was his aggression, his ability to shoot, his ability to finish inside, and his defense. When he was getting the name the unicorn in his New York Knicks days, it was his defense that was making him stand apart from some of these other big men in the league, in my opinion. And I feel like we're finally seeing that with the Mavericks. Last year, when they had him, and earlier this season, he still didn't feel like he was fitting in. He didn't look like he was fitting in. But now, these last 4 games, these last 5 games, Kristaps is currently averaging 23 points, 9 rebounds on 45% from the field, 41% from 3 as a big man, and 89.5% from the free throw line. So very close to that 50-40-90 club. And let's be honest, the Mavericks ain't really played nobody crazy. They beat Boston, who's struggling. They beat the Pelicans, who's struggling. They lost to the Bulls, a good team. They beat the Spurs, a bad team, and they beat I wrote it down. I can't remember who their last win was. But Denver, who's missing 2-3 starters. They literally just Jokic. Now, I'm not trying to discount their wins. They had solid wins. I'm not trying to discount Jokic's play by saying they won Kristaps' play by saying they beat bad teams. But I'm more so just hoping they can continue this because they're going into a stretch over the next couple of games where they're going to be playing against some good teams. They play the Suns tonight. They play the Suns again on Friday. Then they got the Clippers twice in a row. Then they play the Warriors. They play the Cavaliers, and if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, the Cavaliers is an automatic win on people's calendars, but the Cavaliers are surprising a lot of good teams this season. And then they go back again, they start playing the Pelicans back-to-back. But if he can continue to do this, and if he can continue to play at this level, they might do something exciting. I'm hoping. I got high hopes for that team, and I really just hope they're going to do something special. Not necessarily special. I have high hopes for Kristaps. I just really like him as a player. I want to talk about John Wall really quickly. The Rockets basically announced that they're not playing him. They said, we ain't playing you this season. We know how much, just sit down. We're not playing you. Which is wild considering he's making $44 million this season. Like $44 million they're paying him to sit the bench. He's not playing. We will not see John Wall this season. And I mean, I get it to an extent. Like, you want to get these young guys going. Kevin Porter Jr., Green. Like, you want to get your young guys out there. You want to get them going. You want to get them used to playing NBA basketball to see what their potential is. But, I mean, just to not play John Wall is insane to me. John Wall is a person who, like, before his Achilles injury, he was like, I feel like he was entering his stride. He was entering his prime. We were starting to really see, John Wall turning into that dude. And then all of a sudden, boom, injury, trade to Houston, Effie, in that 2020-2021 season in Houston, and then now just simply not playing him. And it sucks. It sucks for his career. He has a player option for next season, but that player option is for $47 million. I don't know if I would decline that player option. I'm not going to hold you because for a couple of reasons. If I'm John Wall, you got to look at it this way. Yeah, you want to hoop. You love the game. You're going to want to be on a team that can maybe showcase your game and so you can show, that you can still hoop. But then you also got to think, ain't nobody really going to pay you. Like if he declined that 47 mil, it's crazy to say, but is John Wall going to turn into the next Isaiah Thomas? And I don't think it's going to be that extent in terms of how Isaiah Thomas is completely out the league. But I can see some team be like, hey, we got a vet minimum for you. We got $3 million for you. We got $5 million for 1 year and to see what you can do. And whenever you're in a situation where a team's like, here's $3 million, here's 5 year to see what you can do, you don't even really get a chance to really showcase yourself because you're always thinking about, man, I got to hoop, I got to play. My contract's on the line. Like I gotta do something. So as crazy as it sounds, I'm not necessarily calling this a prediction, but John Wall's 31 years old. If he accepts his player option for 47 mil, and the Rockets once again say they're not playing him, do you just retire at 32, 33 years old after next season? Take your money and run? That's $80 million in 2 years. That's $91 million in 2 years. Do you just take your money and run? Yes, Matthew. John Wall's the third highest NBA paid player right now. His contract was crazy. When we think about when John Wall received that contract, John Wall got one of these first supermax contracts when everybody was like, yo, at the end of his contract, he's going to make $47 million. And at the time when he signed it 3 years ago, everybody was like, yo, that's a crazy amount of money for John Wall. But like I said, he was entering his prime. He was coming off of multiple All-Stars. He was coming off of one of his best seasons ever where he put up 23 a game. And everybody's like, hold on now. John Wall, Bradley Beal, y'all looking nice. And it's just like that. They could be like, hold on now. John Wall, you going to retire? You take your money and run, bro. If I'm John Wall, I'm taking my money and I'm running. But now we got some news out the way. I want to talk about, real quick, the bulk of this conversation, I want to talk about way too early season awards. Like Jason said, we only 15 games into the season. But let's talk about some way too early season awards. I'm going to start out with Coach of the Year. Actually, no. We're not going to start out with Coach of the Year. I like that award a lot. But it's probably like the least exciting award. We're going to start out with Coach of the Year. So let me give my three candidates. And then I'll tell you how I'm picking. So first off, we got to start with Billy Donovan with the Bulls. This Bulls team, I feel like I talk about him every episode. I feel like I make a TikTok about him at least once a week so far this season. But that's just because I like watching him that much. There's always something good to say about the Bulls. Billy Donovan got these Bulls playing amazing. Steve Kerr for the Warriors, also in conversation because that Warrior system is in place. You can see it. Curry's off-ball movement, the passing, the defense. They're a top 5 defense and a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense. I want to say last I looked, it was like number 1 and number 2. I may be mistaken. I looked a couple days ago, so things might have shifted, but I'm pretty sure they're still top 5 in both categories. That's really hard to do. That's championship caliber stuff. And you can see it, and they play, and the system they run in, that's Steve Kerr's system. So we got to give him some love. And then my third candidate is Wes Unseld Jr. When the Wizards announced in the offseason that they were hiring Wes Unseld Jr. to be their head coach, at first I was like, who? Like, don't get me wrong, I know who Wes Unseld is. I'll be keeping it a bean. I only really know who Wes Unseld is because of 2K, because he's low-key a cheat code if he played my team. But, Wizards legend Wes Unseld, his son is now the head coach of the Washington Wizards. And going into this season, I don't think anybody saw the Washington Wizards being this good. Like, they trade away Russ, they get Montrez, they get Kuz, Spencer Dinwiddie comes over. So you don't think they're going to be necessarily a bad team. We all know who Bradley Beal can do, but you're like, how's this team going to work? You wasn't really paying them no mind. Now they're one of the best teams in the East. So I got to give Wes Unseld some love. And if they can continue this pace, Wes Unseld's my coach of the year. First year head coach, highly unexpected. He's my coach of the year. And like I said, these are way too early predictions. We're 15 games in, but we're here. Most improved player. We got Tyrese Maxey for the Sixers. Is doing so well. As a Sixers fan, I can't even say he's filling the void that was Ben Simmons. He's outplaying Ben Simmons, if you ask me. I'll just flat out say it. Tyrese Maxey is outplaying Ben Simmons and playing better than Ben Simmons has over the last, third year with the Sixers. So I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Maxey. Ben's defense, yes, we know what he could bring defensively, but offensively is what we needed from Ben. We needed more offense. We weren't getting that. Tyrese Maxey is giving that to us. Mikal Bridges with the Hornets. He's a big part of that Hornets team right now. They're like middle of the package. I don't see them being an elite team out east. I don't see them being like a crazy good team. Like they might have to play in the play-in game, and that's okay. If they can make the playoffs play-in game, Mikal Bridges, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of you, putting up career highs in a lot of different stats. And then Tyler Hero, he made a leap. I loved what I'm seeing out of Tyler Hero. I talked about him before, especially because he really had a sophomore slump. Tyler Hero had a sophomore slump for real, especially coming off of the bubble. His rookie bubble Hero, it was all the talk and chatter about it, and he looked so good in the bubble, and then looked so bad his sophomore year. But he's looking good in his third year, which happens to a lot of rookies. So, no hate on his sophomore season. It just was what it was. It happens to a lot of rookies. It's called a sophomore slump for a reason. But if I got to pick one, I got to go with Tyrese Maxey, mainly because I'm a Sixers fan. I'll be honest. And then 2, Miles MIP, top 10 in MVP. Yo, Mario, listen, bro. This is the second time you just said Miles Bridges is top 10 in MVP voting. Who is voting? Who is voting? And I had no idea you were this big of a Mikal Bridges fan. A Miles Bridges fan. I ain't gonna hold you. But I gotta go with, like I said, Tyrese Maxey. The void he's filling for the Sixers, what he's bringing to the Sixers team, it's looking good. Shake Milton actually came back. That's why Maxey was starting in the beginning of the season. Because if Milton wasn't injured in the beginning of the season, I'm almost certain they would not have started Maxey. And we might not have known Maxey was this good, which I don't know what that says about Doc Rivers' coaching, because I can almost guarantee you they would not have started him. They would have started Milton. Milton, to me, isn't as aggressive of a scorer or as bouncy. Maxey has this bounce to him when he plays that's just a high energy. I saw a post saying Ja is a candidate. Ja is a candidate. Ja's a candidate. I'm kind of gassing and got Ja in a different category, but Ja is definitely a candidate. I'm gonna move him to the MIP category, take him out of where I did have him. I was really trying to show him some love, but I'm moving to the MIP. Ja Morant is doing amazing. The Grizzlies, I feel like, have cooled off a little bit, but in the beginning of the season, in the first week and a half, 2 weeks, I think I got a TikTok saying Ja Morant was MVP if you'd have stopped it 3 games into the season. So, Ja Morant was hooping. That Grizzlies team's going to go as far as he takes them right now, and he's taking them pretty far. 6 man of the year. Let's talk about it. Only got 2 picks. Tyler Hero and Montrezl Harrell. Tyler Hero, we already talked about him, so I'm not going to go too much into depth. Montrezl Harrell, I feel like we're seeing the Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers again. The Lakers utilized him poorly. They didn't know how to use him. They didn't know what to do with him. They were trying to put him in a box. It literally felt like they were trying to put him in a box. But now, MIP. Okay, top 10 MIP. Okay, that makes more sense. I felt like the Lakers were trying to put Montrezl in a box, and he didn't look like himself. I don't know how else to describe it besides he did not look like his high energy, 18 points off a game self. And that he's back to that with the Wizards, and he looks great. But I got to give it to Hero, because Hero is he's still at 21 a game. I had to double check, make sure it didn't drop or not drop. But he's still at 20 plus points a game off the bench. He's doing a lot for this Heat team, and I think it'd just be really cool if a player in his third year got 6 man. Montrezl already has one, so let's give it to the young fella. Rookie of the year, I ain't gonna hold you. Now this one was a little shaky. I'm gonna keep it a bean with y'all. I'm not trying to lie. I ain't been watching a lot of these rookies. I had to do a little bit of research to come up with who my rookie of the year was going to be. These rookies aren't on great teams. I haven't really been watching them. If I like watching the good games, I only got so much time to watch the game. I only really watch 1, maybe 2 games a night. So my rookie of the year, I got Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes. Evan Mobley for the Cleveland Cavaliers, 14 points a game, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Scotty Barnes for the Toronto Raptors, 16 points a game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, right? Rookie year is my son in Toronto for Matthew. Yep, I feel that. I respect that choice. But I got to go with Evan Mobley. I'm just really liking what I'm seeing out of Mobley. And a lot of it is because I just be feeling like these Cavaliers be surprising teams. I feel like teams come into Cleveland thinking they should be winning, and somehow Cleveland be beating these teams. Don't ask me how Cleveland be beating these teams. Don't ask me what they be doing to beat these teams. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Evan Mobley. And the only reason I'm gonna go with him over Scotty as well is because I think maybe once Toronto gets back to being fully healthy, once Siakam really gets in the lineup a little bit more and starts to become more assertive and stuff like that, I think we might see a drop a little bit in Scotty Barnes' numbers by the end of the season. Whereas Evan Mobley, I think he could stay at this level. I don't see nobody really taking his minutes, his touches. Like, he can stay here. So I think it's really close. If either of them win it, I'm not really gonna be mad either way. There's even a couple of other people like Cade Cunningham could still surprise us, and like he's got back to playing early enough that he could still win it. We just gotta give him a couple weeks, see how he's really gonna fan out. That's why I didn't want to throw him in this, because he just really hasn't played enough. Defensive Player of the Year, there's two players that I'm looking at. Now, if you'd have asked me this maybe like 3 days ago, I would have had an easy answer. And that easy answer would have been Bam Adebayo. I love him when I'm seeing out of Bam. He is really anchoring a really, really good Heat defense. He's just a part of that culture. He can do a lot. He's not just a rim protector. He can switch on the smaller guards. He can play very well in the pick and roll, can guard bigger bigs. I call him like a 2 to 5 defender. He can't guard every point guard, but 2 to 5, it's the pick and roll. He can stay with him. He can head strong. Bam does a lot for that Heat team. He's a big part of their defense, and his play helps their guards play better defense, helps them allow them to be a little more aggressive because they know they got a rim protector behind him. If they get caught up in the screen, they know Bam can head strong and maybe contain for a little bit while they fighting over or around that screen. He can help give them some more confidence. And so that Heat team is playing great defense because of Bam. But like I said, that was if you asked me 3 days ago. Because now, I got to go with Draymond Green, bro. And Draymond Green's numbers don't really pop out crazy. Like, even when he won it before, like, Draymond Green's not really necessarily a crazy numbers guy. Right now, he's averaging about 8 rebounds a game, 8 points, 7 assists. I don't even know if he's averaging a full block. He's averaging 0.9 blocks. So if you look at his stats, you might be like, yo, Hawk, you tripping. But when you watch these Warriors games, man, so much of his defense, so much of the Warriors' elite defense literally is on the shoulders of Draymond Green. Draymond Green is like, does for the Warriors what... All right, yeah, bet. Well, Draymond Green does for the Warriors what Rudy Gobert does for the Jazz. But I feel like with the Jazz and with Rudy, you can see it in the stat sheet. You see his rebounds. You see his blocks. You can look up his field goal percentage at the rim against, opponent's field goal percentage at the rim. Like, yo, Rudy's really doing it. Rudy's really doing it. But then, Rudy gets embarrassed in the second round of the playoffs against the Clippers, and because they literally go small ball and he can't play. But Draymond, he has like, and the reason I say this a couple days ago, because I watched that Warriors game. I watched the Warriors start Draymond on KD in the second half, and I watched Kevin Durant struggle for the first time this season. I'm not saying Draymond shut Kevin Durant down. I don't think there's anybody in the league who can shut Kevin Durant down. But there's a couple people in the league who can slow Kevin Durant down, who can make Kevin Durant take a little more difficult shots. And Draymond's one of the few people who can do that. He looked absolutely amazing against that Nets team, against playing good defense against one of the greatest scorers of our time in Kevin Durant. Mario says Gary Payton is playing great defense. Sleeper pick. Gary Payton II is playing great defense. Sleeper pick because he's a guard. Yeah, he has been playing really, really good defense. I don't think he's going to necessarily get the love he deserves. One, because he's a guard, it's really, really hard for guards to win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, really, you got to be a clamp god to win Defensive Player as a guard. It's difficult. And I think because Draymond is also on his team, I think more of the love's going to go to Draymond. Very similar to what I said about Bam. People are going to be like, well, because Draymond's there, because Draymond's heading so hard on screens, it helps, Gary Payton do other things. And yes, like Matthew said, that was my next point. Gary Payton doesn't play enough minutes to get to Defensive Player of the Year. I just don't think he plays enough. Good point. Matthew said Gary Payton doesn't play enough minutes to be Defensive Player of the Year, especially when Clay gets back. Yeah, it's very similar, like I said, with Scotty Barnes. Very similar situation. Once the player who's normally in that role is get back, your minutes are going to drop. They're not really going to look at you that much. But Gary Payton is definitely a sleeper pick. and has potential maybe in his future to, be in that conversation maybe next season and a couple seasons down the road. Drum roll, please. Let's talk about MVP. Now, of course, we all know who the top two are, but we're going to save them. We know who the top two are. We're going to save them. I'm going to give an honorable mention shout out to DeMar, mid-range maestro, modern day MJ, the greatest mid-range shooter of all time, DeRozan. I'm loving what DeMar is doing. DeMar is doing career highs this season. He just looks, if you ask me, he looks even better than his Raptors days. Like, this is the best version of DeMar DeRozan I've ever seen. Numbers might not say that, but if you ask me when I'm watching these games, this is the best version of DeMar DeRozan I've ever seen. I feel like he has all the scoring ability he had from his Toronto days, but even better because he's smarter. He's been in the league longer. He's older, he's wiser, and he's a better leader for this team. So DeMar is my, I guess we'll say, honorable mention, right? Because let's be real. If the season ended today, as much as I love DeMar, you can only go to one or two players. That is Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. Now, initially, I was going to be like, I was really going back and forth. 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B. And although they just beat this team, the Warriors just beat the brakes off the Nets. I mean, beat the absolute brakes off the Nets. I'm picking Kevin Durant for MVP. It's crazy. It sounds blasphemous. Steph Curry is looking like, unanimous MVP levels, moving without the ball, scoring with the ball, shooting from all over the place. The confidence that Steph Curry has right now is absolutely insane. But the reason I'm going with Kevin Durant is because this is more so of a prediction, if that makes sense. I know the media is going to go with the narrative. I know the media loves a good story. I even love a good story. I'll be honest. Kevin Durant is doing what he's doing on a team that's playing subpar. We just opened this show with 10 minutes talking about how the Nets aren't playing up to their aspirations, I'll say. They're not playing up to the level that we expected them to, and Kevin Durant is still doing what he's doing. And I think Kevin Durant also has the potential to, maybe once this team starts playing a little bit well, putting a little more energy on the defensive end of the floor. I'm not even mad. Whatever defense Kevin Durant's given this Nets team is, in my opinion, icing on the cake right now because he has to do so much on the offensive side. But if you got Steph Curry as your MVP, I can't be mad at that. Like, it's literally 1A and 1B right now. Now, if y'all had said, like, I got Anthony Davis or somebody else or some wild mess as MVP, I'd be like, all right, you're wilding. But out of Kevin Durant and Steph, I got to go with KD as my MVP. So that's my way too early predictions. I got a couple of things before we get up out of here. What are we at? 37 minutes looks like so far the show has been. We got a couple more minutes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me so far. The Spurs system did DeMar well. The Spurs system, it did do DeMar well. I feel like when he first went to the Spurs, his first year there, they were trying to get him to shoot a lot of threes initially. And then his second season there, they were like, hey, yo, stop shooting. Like, just do you, bro. And they really let him work in that mid-range. They really let him get in that mid-post, do a lot of work in that. And really, I feel like he built a lot of confidence there because no one cared about that Spurs team. Like, no one. I'll be honest. I did not care. I didn't care about DeMar on the Spurs. Like, I knew he was still hooping. You know what I mean? I gave him his respect. But in terms of, I was not turning on the Spurs game like that. Like, so I feel like he flew under the radar. And I think this is giving him an opportunity to surprise a lot of people coming into this season. But the other day I made a TikTok talking about Lonzo Ball, giving him his praise. And I was just, I said no one's worked harder this in their career. No one's worked on their game more than Lonzo Ball in the last 4 seasons. Mainly talking about his three-point shot. And I said that because I've been watching him this season and even the last season. His three-point shot has just gotten so good. Like, it don't make sense how good of a three-point shooter Lonzo Ball has become. And it's really helped his game and unlocked his game a lot. The floor is opening a lot because for Lonzo Ball, because he's really that good of a shooter. So that's all I got for you guys today. We about to be up out of here. Unless somebody want to call in, share some thoughts real quick. I know a couple people in here, Matthew, Mario, I know y'all in here. I'm gonna give y'all maybe 30 seconds. Call in if you want to share, drop some knowledge or share a hot take of yours. But other than that, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like y'all know, Hawks Hoops happens every Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. If you don't already follow me on TikTok, you know what I mean? If y'all made it this late in the video, you a real one. So if you don't follow me on TikTok, and if you made it this late to this video, go on there and follow me on TikTok. All right, let's see. We got a call. Thank you for calling the Hawks Hoops. It's your boy Hawk, who I have the pleasure of speaking with.
This is Mario. You know what I mean?
What up, Mario? How you doing? Thank you for calling in.
I'm good. We got to talk about my boy Lonzo. Come on, man.
I feel that. How you feel about him so far this season?
I feel like Lonzo has give us a glimpse of what he could be in that Lakers game.
That's a good point.
It's not something that I expect to be consistent because he has two more ball dominant, two better scorers than him on the team.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if those two are having a bad game, which is very hard for DeMar and Zach to be having bad games because they've both been so consistent so far this season. But, you know, the legs are still there. They're not as tired as of yet, and the fatigue's not kicking in. But obviously Lonzo kicked up because he went back to LA. He had something to prove. That makes sense. But it's just showing that yes, for sure. But it's for sure showing that he has the ability.
He was like, "Oh, I couldn't shoot over here." Bet 7 for 10.
7 like crazy. And if you look at it, he also rebounded very well, and he also facilitated very well. So, like I said, it's still a lot of chemistry issues in the sense that this team has the potential to be very great because they have such a good playmaker in Lonzo, but you have a great playmaker in Lonzo, but you also have a good playmaker in DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah,
and you have a up and coming playmaker in Zach LaVine. So
and I'll even throw Caruso in there as an upcoming playmaker. I ain't gonna hold you.
Caruso is a good playmaker because he has come off the bench multiple times this season, and he's also he's had more assists than Lonzo. But at the same time, like I said, if we can get Lonzo comfortable into running the offense, I think if we can get him going, because it's like when you think about DeMar DeRozan and you think about Zach LaVine, you think of like ramen. They're instant buckets, like instant noodles. You feel me? So they can get on. They can get on whenever. But Lonzo, he's definitely a rhythm player because if you watch the game, he's a rhythm shooter. Like he was hitting and bang, started going. And then after a while, he hit this 1-3. He's out here leaning back. He was in rhythm.
Yeah.
Lonzo, you have to get him in rhythm. With DeMar and Zach, they could just be like, bang, I'm on. They just got to see one go in. But like I said, I think Lonzo is still a confidence issue. So once his confidence keeps growing and growing, the sky's the limit for this team. It could be one of those teams that is like, how the hell did the Bulls get into the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah.
So
I think Eastern Conference Finals is a legitimate could be a legitimate goal for them. Like not trying to gas, whatever. Like legitimately, they could be Eastern Conference Finals team.
I mean, like I said, as a Bulls fan, I don't want to do that because it's a lot of pressure. Granted, they don't know me and I didn't have this pressure on me. But for me personally, I was like, second round is good enough for me. In reality, it's not. But second round is good enough for me. But like I said, the team is not at its full strength yet because we still got Vooch, who's a great rebounder and a solid defender.
Yeah.
So,
I think people have been sleeping on Vooch's defense. Like, he wasn't known for defense in his Magic days, but he's been playing really good defense for this Bulls team.
He's one of those few big men that can move his feet.
Yes. His pick and roll defense is really good.
And his pick and roll defense is very good. So I feel like once we get, because we have the role players and players coming off the bench. We got those, like, and Caruso leading the charge. So like it's a pretty, I wouldn't say stacked, but it's a very, from top to bottom, it's a very evenly built out team. So like I said, only 13 games in the season. We still got 69 more left to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, plenty of basketball left to play. So the confidence can definitely build up. It's funny, right? When you said he's one of the players that you got to get going, get the confidence going early. Now this is a stretch, right? I'm not saying an apples to apples comparison, but hear me out. It made me think of how the Warriors use Klay Thompson. How a lot of times in the first, second quarters, early in the game, they run a lot to get Klay open shots to get him in rhythm, because once
Mm-hmm.
he starts to get in rhythm, it kind of opens up the game and makes it easier for everybody else. I can see the
Everybody, yeah.
Bulls, like I said, not to Klay Thompson's extent, but I can see the Bulls doing that later down, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe in a month, to start to try to get Lonzo's three ball going early, to get his
Yeah.
confidence rolling. Because, like you said, DeMar and Levine are going to get their 25. We know they're going to get their 25. But if we can get
Easy.
Lonzo around 15 to 20, about 18 points, that can really make the Bulls something special.
Yeah, so like if they utilize that 44% from three or whatever it is, they utilize that.
Yep.
That can help make it easier for everybody else on the team. Literally everybody else.
Yes, I'd agree. Completely agree.
Because he can use that his hot shooting can turn into his playmaking, which we all know he's a great playmaker, and that gets everybody else in rhythm. And then whenever he needs it, he can take that jump shot, hit that jump shot, and so forth. So, like I said, it's very exciting stuff. I'm gonna just keep on keeping on because we had we were out there in the leading. Like I said, before the season started, I was telling people we are getting home court advantage first round without a doubt, and it's starting to show. We getting that first.
Yes.
We definitely getting home court first round. So
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Yes, y'all got home court first rounds locked in for y'all, and I wouldn't even be surprised if y'all had home court in the second round. But first round, 100% lock in for home court advantage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, bro. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. All right, you take care.
You too, bro. All right. Once again, thank you, Mario, for calling in. Appreciate the support for real, for real. Lonzo Ball, yeah, man. Like we said, we ain't talk about him. I'm happy you brought him up. We gotta drop some Lonzo love because he's one of my favorite players. Like I got a lot of players I like. He's one of the favorite. Oh, we got another call coming in. Let's see who we got here. Thank you for calling in the Hawks Hoops. This is Hawk. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Matthew.
What's up, Matthew? How you doing? Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. What you want to talk about? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so all is well, all is well. I'm just speaking on kind of what Mario just spoke on with the Bulls.
Okay.
I think the Bulls have a very high ceiling. The way that their team is made up is just very nice. You know, they have two guys that essentially one-on-one are pretty hard to guard, and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Lonzo is also a top talent. You know, he's a great defender, a great assist of the ball. His shot has really been coming through, you know, since he left the Lakers. We've seen his stats just grow, you know, year after year. So I definitely agree with you that he's one of the hardest workers in the league. I really like Vucevic. He's also he's not on the same level as DeRozan and LaVine, but he's very good at, especially being a big man, you know.
Yeah.
My only issue with them, I think that I saw a couple of their games. I saw some of the elite guards trying to switch on Vucevic, you know, at the three-point line and try and treat him like it was Steph Curry and Tristan Thompson in the NBA Finals. That's just a little tough to watch because, you know, it's really most centers just can't keep up with the foot speed and the skill of these smaller elite guards. But their team has a very high ceiling. I love Caruso. He doesn't do too much. You know, he's an elite defender. He can shoot. He's athletic. You know, they pass the ball a lot. Kobe White's coming back soon. I've been watching a couple more of their games recently just to kind of really see what's going on. They have a rookie name. I think his name is Don Sumo or something like that.
Yes, he's nice.
That guy, he has a motor on him that's like similar to Russell Westbrook. He's trying to run up and down the court as fast as possible. And, you know, there's no expectation from him. So, you know, it's nice to get, you know, some fresh legs in the game. I think Patrick Williams had a torn ACL or something. He's gone for the season.
Yeah, he's still out. Yeah,
I realized
unfortunately.
He's playing very well when he was playing. So that was a little bit sad. But I think that their team is really they're a very solid team. Right now, the 76ers, you know, Joel is injured. The Bucks, a bunch of people are injured. Right now, they're the healthiest, technically. And, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future in regards to health. But right now, you know, I'm with you guys that they'll definitely have, you know, home court advantage in the first round. Depending on the injuries of people like Embiid and then other people on the Bucks like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, you know, they could end the season number one in the East. You know, that's what it looks like. really
It's
based off
definitely a
injuries
possibility.
pretty easily. But right now, I think they're a lock in for top 3. And also, just even watching the Warriors, like I love the way the Warriors are playing right now. Players like Gary Payton, who's just been fighting for a roster spot for a couple of years, for them to finally get minutes and feel like they have a spot on the team, that's really great to watch. I think like he knows for a fact that if he doesn't perform well on the court, the same way that he was, on several different teams in the G League, that can easily happen to him again. So like I feel like he has a chip on his shoulder, and he plays with that, on defense and offense. Very exciting to watch. My only fear is that, as the season goes on, teams start to adjust to how they play, and they're not as hot as they are now. Because most teams don't stay hot throughout the entire season. But this year, watching the Warriors play, like it does remind me some of the years that they went to the finals. Like they're very exciting to watch. Clay's not back. That's very exciting. Wiseman will come back, and who's I think is pretty decent. I don't think he's great or anything, but they're definitely somebody to watch. The Nets, I think, are in a bit of trouble. KD's playing amazing. James Harden is very sus at the moment. People like Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, you never really know what you're going to get from them. They could look good one day, it could look terrible. Everybody else, Bruce Brown, like these guys, Patty Mills is a bucket, but I don't know if their system is the best for him to, play a role that actually leads to wins. He can definitely get some points, but I don't know about the Nets. I feel like if Kyrie was playing, that would be ideal for even like James Harden offensively to kind of get back on track just with another person that's taking away some of the, like this scouting report, they also have Kyrie in there, which would probably make James Harden, be able to play a little bit more freely, more one-on-one basketball. Because I don't think Kyrie's coming back. I think Kyrie's going to retire, to be honest.
Hey, man, he could. And that's the thing that sucks about this Kyrie situation. This Nets team was built to be around 3 superstars. And you can see it. Like, they're clearly missing Kyrie Irving, but he's just not there right now, so they got to figure it out.
Yeah, but, I mean, so far this NBA season has been really exciting. There's a bunch of games, a bunch of teams that I want to watch. The West has always a bunch of teams. We got Jokic and the Jazz, and the Lakers are kind of funny, too. The other day, I was telling somebody that THT, I don't know if you watched, what game was that? Whatever game, the last game the Lakers played, THT was playing the garbage minutes. He put up like 20 shots, ended the game at 29. But it was kind of annoying. He's playing the second, third string guys. He's out here getting crazy dunks.
Yeah.
To the point where he took like 10 shots in a row. I was like, I understand he just came back from injury. Maybe they're trying to get him, back in the reps. But
that was against the Bulls last game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were just stat padding him a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He said a contract year's coming up. Let me show them what I could do. And
that's
possible.
But
I think the Lakers are in a little bit of trouble. My fear is that LeBron is still very great. I think that age is starting to catch with him. I think he'll still be top 5, top 10 player in the league when he comes back healthy. But with AD constantly being AD's made out of glass.
Yep.
He's going to either injure himself every 10 days or be, game time decision. He's not built like that. Unfortunately. Yeah. He's very talented.
Extremely talented, but just not really that durable. And that sucks because the Lakers want him to play center, but he doesn't have the body to play center.
Exactly.
He doesn't have the health,
even the way that he got
center. There you go.
The way he got ejected, he jumped up for that lob, and he landed. He was on the floor. He's always on the floor.
Yep.
He took mad long on his shoe, and he got ejected. I'm like, bro, like, first of all, you should have landed on your feet.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I feel like he's always on the floor, and it's kind of frustrating to watch him play sometimes. Like, I think he's very talented, but I couldn't be an Anthony Davis fan. I think sometimes he's not as aggressive, and I don't know what he's doing in the off season, but he needs to be a little bit more durable, like his buddy LeBron.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
But that's all I got for you today.
All right, man. Well, thank you for calling in, bro.
All right,
Appreciate you.
All right.
all great points from Matthew. And I agree, man. And Anthony Davis, I'm gonna have to watch some couple Lakers games this week. Anthony Davis is gonna make the docket is what I call my notes, but he's gonna make my notes for next week because they got to figure something out. I was trying to avoid talking about the Lakers, but real quick, the Lakers are going through a lot. We talked about them briefly when we talked about the Nets. They just simply don't have a culture. And I think that's what it comes down to most with the Lakers. They look like a team of mercenaries. They look like a bunch of guys who are on 1-year deals that are trying to stay in the league and stay relevant and try to ride coattails to win a chip. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when your whole, like on an individual basis, like when one player joins a team that's already established, but when it's your whole team, I just don't know if it's going to work. Honestly, I truly don't know if it's going to work. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, like I said, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you rocking in. Thank you for calling in, supporting the show. And we will see you guys next week, 8 o'clock. Follow me on socials. Y'all see them all there. You know what I mean? I made this little box thing. We took some time to make this. So follow them on socials. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you want to see daily content from me where you'll see my thoughts on, it could be the game before, a specific player that might not make it to the full show, but I just got some thoughts on them real quick. It's just quick bite-sized content. See you guys later. See you guys next week. I'm out. Peace. Boom, baby!